Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. Today is Wednesday, December 8th, 2021. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and I am here to represent DFS Coach Talk in a wonderful NBA DFS slate that has 26 of the 30 NBA teams participating. So this is going to be a fun one. First time back in front of Dirk and my friends here. So, hey, Dirk, how are you? Minnie Dawson from his playing days is with us. We've got all kinds of our paraphernalia back. So good to be in front of the home computer here and getting back after DFS-wise. So appreciate all of you that tuned in during my recent trip and also, tuned in to certainly our awesome NFL team. Big shout out also yesterday to, of course, Andrew Hansen. He was terrific, put some great lineups together for our members in the NBA, bunch of cashers in FanDuel, even some off the clipboard in Draftkings and then Yahoo as well. But FanDuel was a big thing for us yesterday. We gave all of our members a ticket into the $400,000 FanDuel event, and Andrew's hybrid line, hybrid/cash line, definitely cashed there. So money coming out of all of this different areas of Coach Talk for our members today. Hopefully for those that listened to Andrew's podcast yesterday as well. We're going to dive into these games and roll through them. I wanted to mention a couple of things really quickly as well. Today, we're going to have a live question and answer for our members only. In our Discord, we have a sports talk channel. We're all going to jump in there. Members are going to type in questions. I'm going to go over those, go back and forth. We'll have Crash and some of our other Coach Talk team in there for breaking news to let us know if anything comes across the wire there. And just debuting that today. So we'd love to have you. Come join us as a member, dfscoachtalk.com. As you see scrolling on the bottom, you can join with as little as a 3-day pass for $10. So you cannot beat it. Great day today to get involved. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we've got lots of basketball. We've got the Thursday night football game, and we'd love to have you in there with us. So just jump on dfscoachtalk.com, go to the memberships, hit that button if you want to try the 3-day for $10, and we'll send you a Discord invite, get you in there to listen to everything else that's going on, all the chit-chat about the sports and the lineups, and all of that helps. That definitely all adds up when you're trying to put together some winning lineups. Also, if you're watching on YouTube right now, quick thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. Also put a quick comment in there if you can. We'd really appreciate that. Feedback, questions. I'll get to some of those questions on there. If you're not a member and you still have questions, that's the spot to put them in the YouTube comment section, and I will answer those before lock. Excuse me. Also, if you're watching on our audio, if you're listening to our audio, then anywhere podcasts can be heard, by the way, Spotify, Amazon Music, Podbean, Stitcher, you name it, we're there. So if you're there and you check us out, it's a really cool thing for us if you can give us a 5-star and a quick comment. That gets you into a contest at the end of the month that we do for a drawing for a full week free of DFS Coach Talk All Access. So that'll be pulled. You still have about 3 weeks to enter that. All right, my friends, we've got so much information here. It's amazing. For those maybe that are new to the show, what we're going to do today is we're going to go over every single game. We're going to go over all 13 games. We're going to talk about the game set as far as the line, the records of the teams, if it's the first or second night of a back-to-back or an island game. We'll also discuss 2 statistical categories that I think are key, especially in big slates like this where they have a tendency to get overlooked, and that's pace and then team defensive efficiency. So those give you a good barometer of where the games are going to go as far as possessions, which we know every possession counts in DFS points. So we are ready to go with this. Little sip of coffee, get the engines flowing here. And then we've got 13 up, 13 down, and we're going to get you ready to absolutely crush this NBA DFS Wednesday night, December 8th, 13-game DFS slate. Nothing better than a great cup of coffee in the morning. Well, there's a few things, but not much. All right. Here we go, my friends. Buckle up. I don't go slow. I get through these, so please focus in, get the pencils sharpened, get those brains cooking, and we're going to fire through these games and get all the important spots together. All right, first game, 7 p.m. There are 4 7 o'clock games. Here's the first one. So these are the ones we'll know all the information before lock, which is always fun. It's the New York Knicks and Indiana Pacers. First of all, as we get started, how about the news with the Pacers looking to blow it up and trade LeVert and either Sabonis or Turner or both? So, wow, I don't know what they're thinking there, but they've got some great pieces. I'm not sure why they're blowing it up, but I hope they come to your team or mine. I'd love to see. I know Dirk wants LeVert and Sabonis, so, it is what it is. We'll see if we can get them. All right, Indiana -5, 209 total. Implied for the Knicks, 102. Indiana Pacers, 107. Knicks are 12-12 coming into the game. Pacers are 10-16. Only guy listed on the Knicks report, and it's a second night of a back-to-back for the Knicks. So we'll see if there's any news or anybody sitting. We know Thibodeau's not a big sit guys and rest them, but we have Sims is probable for the Knicks. That's the only guy listed right now. For the Pacers, we know Justin Holiday's out. TJ McConnell had surgery on his wrist or hand. I believe he's out for a while. And then TJ Warren has not suited it up in a while. So statistically speaking, this game, again, Indiana Island game, Knicks second night of a back-to-back, something to take into consideration. Pace not great in this game. Knicks second to last, second to slowest team in the league. Pacers are now below the mid-level number. They're 18th in pace. And then team defensive efficiency, you have the Knicks 19th, which is way lower than they expected, but they are getting a little better. Indiana right in the middle at 15th. So when we look at this game, over under 209, not really something to jump out of your seat for, but a lot of the other stuff is good. Pace is not good either, but you've got teams not playing great D. You've got a fairly close spread at 5, and, you've got some potential here. If the Knicks don't sit anybody, and again, I'm not going to keep saying that all day long. It's morning, so we have to follow this news throughout the afternoon, because I guarantee you with all these teams on the second night of a back-to-back and a bunch of teams on the first night, you're going to see some guys rested. We have to follow that news throughout the day. We'll be doing that in Discord at DFS Coach Talk, and in our chat, we'll be making sure that's updated throughout the day. So guys, you can look at here, Alec Burks at 6'8" is taking over that point guard spot. But Malcolm Brogdon defense, pretty tough. So not sure, that at 6'8", he's the value that he once was by any stretch. RJ Barrett had a hot game, 5'3". He started hitting some shots there towards the end. And throughout, he's a guy that can't be a decent value. Julius Randle at 10K, a little pricey on a game with this slow of a pace. Nerlens Noel has supplanted Mitchell Robinson as the starting center, but I still hate the situation there. Even though Robinson didn't start, he came off the bench last night and played well, had a bunch of rebounds. So don't want the timeshare Noel, Robinson, and even a little bit of Toppin when he plays small, or Taj Gibson. So we don't need any of that mess, that's for sure. So not big on the Knicks today in this matchup. If I was going to go anywhere, you maybe want to look at that mid-priced or low price, I should say, RJ Barrett. Don't trust him all the time, though. Malcolm Brogdon at 8.5, tough, but I don't like that number in such a pace-down game. Chris Duarte is more of a GPP play, up and down. That 4.6 price tag is so tempting because we know he has a giant ceiling. It's just that he also has a pretty low floor. Karis LeVert at 5.9. You wonder, excuse me, how he's going to respond to this trade news. He is the one piece that they mentioned first in wanting to trade. So you see two, guys go two different ways in this. Either they show out because they want to get out, or, they're slumpy and not giving a great effort because they're disappointed with the news. I think LeVert plays well here. I think he would welcome the opportunity to get to a team where he is the focal point. So I expect a good game from LeVert. I think he steps up a bit, and at 5.9, I think he's a fair deal. Sabonis at 10.3, a little too high, again, on this slate with all the options. Miles Turner's pretty cheap, though, 6.1, not a bad price whatsoever. Again, he's mentioned in these deals also, so we'll see how that affects him. Really not interested in the bench guys at this time for the Pacers. All right, game 2, Washington Wizards, Detroit Pistons. Washington minus 5.5. It's a 209.5 total. Implied for Washington, 107.5. Detroit, 102. Another interesting game here. Washington comes in at 14-11. The Pistons come in at 4-19. Injuries for Washington. We have Bertans questionable. He's been awful, though. Thomas Bryant and Rui Hachimura remain out. For Detroit, you've got Corey Joseph is probable, which mixes up that guard rotation even more, although Diallo is questionable. So he is in the rotation if he plays, so we want to keep a close eye there, and Kelly Olynyk remains out. Let's look at the statistics here. The analytics evaluation of this team. Washington is 23rd in pace, Detroit 14th. And as far as defensive efficiency, Washington 14th. They're sinking. They were in the top 7 there at the beginning of the year. And Detroit is all the way down to 24th. So average pace, somewhat not great, a little below average. And defense, not great either. So this is one of those head scratcher games, a lot of different possibilities. I'm not racing to this game, but I think a few one-offs are possible. You've got Dinwiddie all the way down to 5.5, which is a bargain. Bradley Beal at 8.6 is a number that's really palatable. I mean, he was up to 10K at one point. I think you can at least consider him. Don't really want to get into the big men mix. Kuzma's only 5.7, but he gets Jeremy Grant defense, so not really looking there. So maybe one of the guards from Washington are possible. Detroit, again, with Corey Joseph back, that hurts Killian Hayes. Cade Cunningham starting to really be a DFS stud like we thought he would be, but he also is up to 7.6. So, I like him. I think he's very playable. I'm not crazy about the defense in the backcourt for the Wizards. So, Cunningham certainly in play for that mid-level style build for sure. Other than that, Jeremy Grant at 7.8 isn't a bad number, for the potential he has, but he, again, is a guy that goes up and down. But the spread's low here at 5.5. If he gets a full run at 7.8, he could get big numbers. So I'm certainly not going to go with Cunningham and Grant, but I think one or the other at that mid-level price is a nice start to a lineup. Isaiah Stewart down to 5.6, which isn't bad. He's been getting more run. But again, you got that foul trouble issue you always have to be concerned about. And the bench is pretty deep right now for Detroit. So I don't recommend playing Lyles or Frank Jackson, Diallo, Corey Joseph, Josh Jackson, Saban Lee. All these guys have been getting minutes here and there. Even Luke Garza gets in there a little bit. But, none of those guys are playable. The reason I mention them is because it does sting a little bit on wanting to play like a Sadiq Bey or even an Isaiah Stewart or Killian Hayes, because you're going to get a minutes cap really on a lot of those guys because there's such a rotation. All right, game 3, Philadelphia 76ers, Charlotte Hornets. Philly -6, 215.5 total, 110.75 for Philly, 104.75 for the Charlotte Hornets. Philadelphia 13-10. Charlotte comes in at 14-12. What a win they had the other night. What a fun game to watch with most of their key guys out. They still were able to pick up a win. They're a fun team to watch. All right, big news for Philly is Tyrese Maxey is questionable. Important news there because if he plays with no minutes restriction, he's a great play. So you really got to watch that closely. Riller is probable, and we know Simmons is still out. Listen to this Charlotte group that's out. It's a starting team, absolutely. LaMelo Ball, McDaniels, Plumlee, Rozier, and Ish Smith. So you've got 5 really good players out of that rotation. Charlotte was able to pull it off the last game. The question is, can they pull it off here? Philadelphia is looking for a win, and Embiid is looking healthier than he has in a while. Statistically speaking, it's a first night of a back-to-back for Philly, and Doc, he's a little cautious there. So is that going to affect Embiid? It's going to affect Embiid, for sure, without question in my mind. But if Philly can get control of this game at any point, he sits. So that's going to be the tough part at 11-7. Anyway, as far as pace goes, Philly 26, Charlotte 2nd. So big pace-up game for Philly, which excites you for some of these key guys. Pace down, a monster pace down for the Hornets. As far as defensive efficiency, Philly 16th, Charlotte 28th. So that's another reason. You got big pace up for Philly, bad defense for Charlotte. Joel Embiid could be the best play-up guy on the slate, but it can go wrong. So it is a tough question to answer. I haven't quite got there yet. I had X'd him off as a main play today initially, but now, as I keep going through things, he's looking better and better. I mean, who's going to guard him? Nick Richards and PJ Washington? I don't think so. He's probably going to name his number today, but is he going to need all of it? And is Doc going to play him the full minutes knowing tomorrow? Now, if Doc has a plan to sit him tomorrow, fantastic. Then let's go for it. If for some reason the news comes out and they sit him today to play him tomorrow, then Andre Drummond becomes a huge play too. So either way, I think you got to consider the Philly center here. It's just such a phenomenal matchup. It's hard to pass up, but it is a big financial commitment, that's for sure. After that, Tobias Harris at 7.6 is a good price, but he does get Miles Bridges, and Miles Bridges gets Tobias Harris. They're going to guard each other. They're both fantastic, but they're not cheap. Tobias 7.6, again, big pace-up game. Bridges on the other side at 8.2 has been playing fantastic basketball. After that, if Maxey sits, Shake Milton as the starting point guard certainly becomes very playable. But really, it's the big man. I'd like to go Embiid, or if he sits, Drummond. Harris you can consider, Maxey if he has no minutes restriction, and then Shake if he starts. So I like the Philly side. I'm probably going to come out of this game, even on 26 teams playing, the possibility of having 2 Sixers. The Charlotte side is interesting. You've got tons of value, but you have a big pace down game. So it's a tough call. Cody Martin came through for me last time at 5K. Oubre's been absolutely out of his mind. It's 7.5. He's probably going to get some Danny Green defense, which can be annoying, but Green's not quite where he used to be defensively. And Oubre up at 7.5. it's a hard pill to swallow, but he's been breaking some slates lately. I'm probably not going to go there. I think he'll be pretty popular because they don't have a lot of options, but it just feels like a press to me. I'm thinking, maybe going with either Gordon Hayward at 7.6, that cheaper play with Cody Martin at 5. If I have the salary and want to pay up, 8.2 for Bridges is still in play in my mind, but Tobias can D it up, so that's a tough call. Not as crazy about the Nick Richards, PJ Washington. They're pretty much splitting center right now. A guy that's going to get a lot of play because he went berserk. He had an unbelievable dunk too, by the way. James Bouknight for the Hornets really had a coming out game the last game. So I know he's going to get really good minutes. He's only 3.8, so he does deserve consideration. Not an all-in button for me by any stretch, because there's definitely some areas of possible failure there as well. Remember, they bring Thibault and guys like that off the bench to defend. So Bouknight in consideration at that cheap price, but maybe avoiding that trap play a little bit because everybody's going to be going bonkers on him from the last game. All right, let's go to game 4. Chicago Bulls, Cleveland Cavaliers. Cleveland -3, so you got a nice tight spread. 211 total, 104 implied for the Bulls, 107 for Chicago. This is an interesting game. Got two teams playing some decent basketball here. Chicago's 17-8. Cavaliers a surprising 13-12, right in the playoff picture. Who would believe that? As far as injuries, Dean Wade is questionable for Cleveland. That's their only injury. That Sexton's out for the season. Chicago has Caruso out, DeRozan, Green, Kobe White, Patrick Williams, all out. So they have been smashed by the injury and COVID bug of late. So that does not help matters on their side of the ball. Hence the 3-point spread. I mean, Vegas knows what they're talking about. Chicago's 13th in the league in pace, Cleveland 22nd. So not super there. Here's the scary part. Chicago's 4th, Cleveland 5th. So you have two of the top 5 defensive teams in the entire league. That tells me to run the other direction. Let's look at a couple of things here with this game. You've got guys out, so people are going to have to step up, and it's going to create some serious value. On the Chicago side, Ball, a lot more is going to fall in Lonzo Ball's hands. He's 7.5. Dosunmu could possibly get a start, good minutes at 3.9. Does Zach LaVine take this game over? That's possible, but he's 10.5. Derrick Jones Jr., hit or miss, more GPP at 4.3. Vuk at 9.5, not completely crazy about him in this matchup. And then they'll have a bunch of guys off the bench. So, it is tempting to want to pay up for LaVine. I would prefer to, if I go that direction, either go in Ball or Dosunmu as a value play. On the Cleveland side, Garland's been fantastic. He's 7.7 and deserves that price. He really has been leading this team and is in play for me. After that, you have a cheap Markkanen at 5.7 coming. He's been back a couple of games from the injury, and he's doing better and better. I think you can consider him. Evan Mobley at 6.4 is really slowed down a bit from the injury and such, but his price is getting, to tease you a little bit. Jared Allen's been terrific, man, but he's 8.2. I do like him in this matchup, but, the defense is there. And, at that 8.2 number now, you're talking about him having to really have a bunch of blocks in the whole 9 yards to get there. So this is not a game I'm going to be looking much at specifically, from the defensive standpoint. Rubio does throw in some good games still after that super hot streak at 5.4. Kevin Love at 4.6 also has done well off the bench for them. But this is going to sort of be untouchable for me. I may play Dosunmu in a cheaper, GPP, or a couple of plays because he's that cheaper price at 3.9. Other than that, Ball and Garland get at least a bit of interest, but not my favorite game on the slate. All right, we finally moved to the 7:30 game, and I'm going to take another sip of coffee. All right, first 7:30 game. Oklahoma City Thunder, Toronto Raptors. Toronto -7, 208.5 total. 100.75 implied for the Thunder. 107.75 for the Toronto Raptors. Coming into this game, we've got Oklahoma City at 7-16, Toronto at 11-13. No injuries for the teenagers known as the Oklahoma City Thunder. We know Anunoby's going to be out for an extended time. Khem Birch out. Goran Dragic is somewhere just enjoying life. Statistically speaking, we've got Oklahoma City 12th in pace, Toronto 24th. Defensively, not good. Oklahoma City 22nd, Toronto scratching their way back up to 17th, trying to at least get to the middle of the pack. Let's take a look at what we think this game is going to look like here. Both teams on an island game. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 8'6", always a playable commodity, as well as Fred VanVleet on the other side at 9'3". Lou Dort at 5'3". The potential is there but again, risk involved with that. Josh Giddey's back after being out injured. He's 6'6". We know he's at times has triple-double potential. After that, tons of bench guys, lots of guys getting minutes, and nobody that really I think is rosterable, in my opinion. The Toronto side, after VanVleet, you have Trent is drifted to 6'2" now. He was cheaper in the fives there for a while, made it really easy, but now it's a little bit of a question. The other thing is I'm thinking Lou Dort guards VanVleet, but he may take a little bit of Trent or Siakam as on some shifts. I mean, Dort can guard 1 through 5, so it doesn't matter. But Trent at 6'2", possibly. Scotty Barnes, who I really like, he's all the way up to 8'1". So I don't know at 8'1" if I want to pull the trigger there. Siakam at 8'8", he had a great game the last time out. Possibly, some play there. But it's a big commitment. Siakam will probably be guarded by Bazley, I would assume. So, Bazley's a decent defender, but Siakam looked a little bit more like, the Siakam. I want the ball, clear the side. I'm just taking this guy one-on-one. So if they keep doing that with him, even at 8'8", and he'll probably be pretty low owned, he's definitely tempting. I think Precious Achiuwa deserves some attention this game. He's getting decent minutes now since Birch went down and not really pillaging those minutes from him. At 4'6", you can get a really cheap center or power forward / center, that should have a consistent game here. He's not, his ceiling's limited, but his floor is pretty safe now as well. A lot of good guys off the bench from them, but nobody that I want to plug in. I don't trust a Bant near Boucher. Those guys are just not on a 26 teams, 13 game slate. That's for sure. All right, next game, 7:30 p.m. It's the Milwaukee Bucks and Miami Heat. Milwaukee's a 6.5 point favorite. 216.5, not bad as total. 111.5 is Milwaukee's implied. 105 for the Miami Heat. Now, you talk about injuries. Miami is definitely feeling the burden of trying to play with a bunch of injured guys. Milwaukee hasn't exactly had a healthy season either, that's for sure. It looks like George Hill is questionable. So we'll see if he's going to be able to suit it up. DiVincenzo, Lopez, and Ojeleye remain out. For Miami, it looks like the other Martin brother, Caleb, is questionable for Miami. And we know Bam, Butler, Morris, and Oladipo all out for Miami. So that stings as if you're a Heat fan to have to play without all those guys. Very interesting here as far as statistically, too. It makes you scratch your head a bit. You've got pace-wise, Milwaukee 6th and Miami 25th. So great pace-up game for the Heat. Defensively, though, these teams can get after it. Milwaukee's all the way up to 7th, and Miami is 12th. And, the reason they're not even higher is because they played so much without their key guys. But both of these teams are well coached. They know how to defend. And, as far as Milwaukee goes, you're back in that conundrum of Holiday, Middleton, and Giannis, having all three sharing usage. And Bobby Portis actually is more of a usage player than when they had Lopez in there. So it's tough on any given night. Yes, those guys can do it, especially Giannis. But you've got 11-6 Giannis in a game against, a Heat team that knows how to defend and scheme to try to at least keep Giannis in the ballpark. So, I always hate to say it because Giannis is, he and Joker really have shown to be the 1-2 punch in DFS this season. But it's just hard to want to spend that 11-6 in this type of a matchup. Holiday at 8-3. He was solid for me the last time out, but that's a big number. Chris Middleton at 7-7 seems more doable. He's the guy I think that will benefit the most with Butler and Bam being out. So Middleton at 7-7 is sort of my first option with the Bucks. Portis at 7-5, still very playable. I think that he's been terrific. I think those two guys would be the first two spots I'd look. Don't have to go deep on this bench. There's still plenty of value throughout the slate, and a ton more will open up as the day goes on. For the Heat, Lowry at 7-2 and Hero at 7K. Both, I think 7K is a fair price for Hero. He can have some monster games. Just the Holiday Lowry thing, battling each other. I think they're both crafty veterans, strong guys, just a rough matchup for each of them. So I'm probably not going to go there. I think Hero at 7K, very fair again. Duncan Robinson's really picked up a lot of the slack. He's getting a lot more shots and usage than he had before with Butler and Bam and those guys on the floor. And he's so super cheap. He's only 4K. Now, he needs to score the ball to make it because he's not going to get you a lot of the periphery stats. So, but still worth a consideration. Dedmon at 4.8, you certainly can look at him. Yurtseven has been playing that backup center role at 3-1. So, he is getting some minutes. Not really excited to go in either one of those directions on this big of a slate. So, interesting game. I think, if it started in 5 minutes, I'd probably go Middleton, Portis, and Hero from this event. All right, next game. We've got the Brooklyn Nets coming off the comeback victory against the Mavs last night. And the Mavs now have lost 8 of their last 10. Got that, Dirk? You're going to have to suit up. Let's go. All right, Brooklyn is on that second night of the back-to-back. Big minutes last night for Harden and Durant, but does that matter? I don't know. Those two guys, especially Durant, he's not human. He's an alien that was placed on this planet, and he doesn't sweat. He doesn't get tired. He just plays a million minutes, leads the league in scoring at his age. It's unreal. Anyway, Brooklyn -6, 226. This is going to be a key game tonight, no doubt. 116 implied for Brooklyn. So when you get over that 115 number in this NBA of 2021, that's serious. And 110 for Houston, which is really a big number for them. So this, Vegas sees this game being a high-scoring game, and I cannot blame them. This is going to be very pivotal in how much people try to stack this game up with 26 teams playing. It'll be interesting. Nets are 17-7. Houston is 7-16. We know Joe Harris and Kyrie Irving out for Brooklyn. Houston has Garuba, Green, House, Porter, and Wall. So they're still missing their starting backcourt of Green and Porter. that definitely spices things up as far as playing some of these guys that are now in starting big minutes role, a role that were coming off the bench before. As far as pace, Brooklyn's 21st, but Houston's the fastest team in the league. So let's give Brooklyn a reason to run. I mean, people are going to have to go to Harden or Durant. If one or the other more than likely has to make a lineup for you if they both play. But who knows? I mean, Nash hasn't shown much in resting guys. Now, if Brooklyn does get a decent lead, which the line is only 6, that they won't push those guys. So there's so much strategy in this game, and it's probably going to make or break a lot of slates for people, because I can see the reason to fade both Harden and Durant. If you think, the Nets get a lead and it's the second night, they're not going to push them. I mean, they're 11-2 and 11-3. That's expensive. But I can see playing one of them for sure. And them going off against a Houston team that's just not good at all. And they're banged up. So, I mean, if I was betting this game, I'd take Brooklyn. I think Brooklyn wins this by double digits, and it scares the hell out of me with wanting to play Harden or Durant. I know that they'll be there, a big part of getting him there. I sort of like the second flight guys. There is some interest here, though. Brooklyn, it's something. I like LaMarcus Aldridge at 5.5. He was terrific recently. He was good in the game last night. But the big thing is he didn't get much run in the fourth quarter at all. Claxton, who's back, played a ton, and he played well. And he's only 3.2. So how do you read into that? Is it Nash being smart, knowing that Mavericks have no interior defense, and you play a true center like Claxton, he's going to get a lot more in there, as opposed to really the power forward type LaMarcus Aldridge that's going to shoot those mid-range jumpers? I think that might have had something to do with it. I think you're going to see Claxton get some ownership, but I don't think he's going to get more than 15, 18 minutes. That's just my gut feeling. But it does put a little scare in me for wanting to play LaMarcus Aldridge at that nice 5.5 number. So got to think on that one some more. Bembry at 4.3, hit or miss. Patty Mills at 4.8 had a real stretch of not hitting shots in that last game. But, his price makes him so playable because he's getting 30-some minutes every game. Again, on a back-to-back, we have to see exactly what Nash is going to do here. But you have to have some Nets exposure. Sorry. I mean, it is what it is. Just determining if you want to pay up for one of the big two, or, supplement with one or two of the secondary guys. On the Houston side, Eric Gordon, man, he's when Green and Porter are out, that opens up about 50 shots, and Gordon likes to shoot. So he's been high on my radar at that 5.3 number. I think he's going to get big minutes again. It's another island game for them. I think that he's playable here. I really do. I think that he's the guy that can get to the number fairly easily. A lot of people have been jumping on this Garrison Matthews idea. He is stepping up. I'm not going to go there, maybe GPP-ish. After that, you can look at Christian Wood, but he's 9.8. But certainly has been playing terrific, depending on the rotation that Brooklyn uses inside. Christian definitely could get to his number. He could be a real necessity on this slate. I'd like to have somebody on the Houston side to bring it back with. Leaning Gordon right now, but Wood's not out of question either. Keep an eye on, too, Armani Brooks coming off the bench, has been getting good minutes and producing. And Şengün and Tice have been splitting. So, that makes that duo a little tough to roster. All right. This is unbelievable, but we're only like halfway. So we're just going to keep on trucking. Another 8 o'clock game. Denver Nuggets, New Orleans Pelicans. Denver minus 2.5. 214 total. 108.25 implied for Denver. 105.75 for the Pelicans. So Denver 11-12. Pelicans 7-19. We have probable tag on the Joker, doubtful on Bol and Bones Highland, and then out Murray and Rivers. Pelicans, Josh Hart, questionable. Luzada and Zion Cheeseburgers Williamson remain out. We look at from the statistical side. Denver, first night of a back-to-back, first of all. So, Malone sometimes takes that into consideration, so we have to keep an eye on that. Denver, 27th in pace. The New Orleans Pelicans, 19th, so that doesn't help matters. But here's something that does. Denver, 20th in defense. Pelicans, dead stinking last. So, you're going to have a lot of Joker lovers here in this matchup. 11.9, it's a big commitment, but certainly can look there. I think Jeff Green has to be considered. He's been playing a lot of minutes. He's been playing steady. He's the guy that's really stepped up when Porter went down. The old veteran 4.5K is pretty cheap. Like this matchup for him too, but it's the first night of a back-to-back, and he's an old-time vet. Does that affect his minutes? You don't want to get, stung on that side of it either. So at 4-5, you can think about that in cash, but more so GPP, I guess. Aaron Gordon at 6'2", he's been the rumors of a few trade possibilities, but he's been playing decent ball. Will Barton, a little pricey for me at 6'9", and Monte Morris the same at 5. A lot of guys coming off the bench there. Really, to me, you either make the commitment to go to the Joker here at 11.9, bite the bullet, have him as your main pay-up guy. I like him better than Giannis today. I think he's a better play. Denver's only favored by 2.5, and that tells me, Vegas knows things a lot better than I do. And, Denver's been struggling lately, so they're going to need all of the Joker they can get. And as of right now, again, if the slate locked in 5 minutes, the Joker would be my key pay-up guy on the slate. On the Pelican side of the ball, I'd like to know if Josh Hart's going to play. That will help. Not going Brandon Ingram at 9-1. I think Aaron Gordon's defense is tough, and he's given Ingram trouble in the past. Herb Jones, not a bad play at 4-2. I'm a bit on the Herb Jones bandwagon. He can step up when he needs to. Joe Val at 8-4. Maybe not the worst decision in the world. If you want to put your chips all in the middle of the table in this game and play Joker and Joe Val, that could be a winning combination. Lots of guys off the Pelicans bench, none that I want to roster on a 26 teams in action tonight. Another 8 o'clock game, Utah Jazz, Minnesota Timberwolves. Utah minus 7.5, so that gets a little bit scary, getting up there a bit. But a really solid total, 220.5. Also, the implied's respectable, 114 for Utah, 106.5 for the Minnesota Timberwolves. So those are two teams that can score it. Injuries, you've got Whiteside questionable for Utah, and then Azubuike is doubtful. For Minnesota, this is where we need massive amounts of news here. You've got Patrick Beverley and D'Angelo Russell questionable. So that's something we need to find out. Then we need confirmation on Cat and Noel. They're both probable. So, it's important to get that information to solidify how you want to look at this game. But Utah's on the first night of a back-to-back, and they're on the road. So, Snyder's pretty crafty the way he, takes minutes into consideration for his players. Conley generally doesn't even play the both sides of a back-to-back. So let's watch the news there because, when he sits Clarkson, Ingles, those guys can be in the discussion. 16th in pace for Utah, 8th for Minnesota. But you've got two top 10 defenses. Utah's 9th, Minnesota 8th. So who would think that Minnesota would start playing some defense, but they are. That's why they've won a few ball games. We'll see. Let's see who's in and out in this game. That's going to mean a lot. Really, from a salary standpoint, Donovan Mitchell at 8.7. He's been floating around that same price forever. Sometimes he pays it off. Sometimes he doesn't. So he's not my favorite place to go, but I think he certainly has to be considered here. Gobert at 8.5 against Cat. I sort of like that. Cat's not a good defender. I think Cat will play. And if Whiteside sits, it gives just a little more run to Gobert, because when Whiteside's backing him up and going well, they'll give Gobert a few extra minutes. But it's also the first night of a back-to-back, so they may try to spread that out. So Gobert's at 8.5, by the way. Again, depending on the news, if Conley's in at 5.5, is very playable, especially if Beverly doesn't play. So a lot of ifs here, but that's what NBA is right now. And if Conley sits again, Clarkson would be my number one go-to with 4.8. On the Minnesota side, I really want to know for sure that D'Angelo Russell's in or not, because at 9.2, a little pricey for me against a good Utah defense. But if he sits, it does open up a lot more for Anthony Edwards at 8.4 and Cat at a little too pricey for me, 10.8. Jared Vanderbilt's been really playing much, much better ball at 5.3, but welcome to the NBA. He's going to get Royce O'Neal defense. So tough game here. I mean, I love the 220.5. I keep digging and scratching to try to find guys that just jump out to me here. I think there's going to be, good ownership in this game, and deservedly so with the total. I'm just not completely thrilled. I need the news on those guys that are questionable, because I could go from no ownership in this game to, a one-off on both sides. But let's see how that pans out. But it may be key for me that maybe Utah can hand them a fairly decent defeat and keep that scoring down if I do fade the game. All right. The Dallas Mavericks and Memphis Grizzlies. We have Dallas on the second night of a back-to-back, Memphis on the first night of a back-to-back. So we've got, let's see here, Memphis -4, 213 is the total, 104.5 implied for Dallas, 108.5 implied for the Memphis Grizzlies. Tough loss for Dallas last night. It dropped them below 500, 11-12. Grizzlies 14-10, playing absolutely unconscious, insane basketball. Now, explain this to me. They've played 5 straight games since Ja Morant went down with an injury. They have never trailed, not by 1 point, in any of those 5 games, and they've gone 5-0. So I don't understand it, but I'm definitely concerned for the Mavericks, because they come in to a red-hot team in the Grizz. All right, as far as injuries go, Sterling Brown and Willie Cauley-Stein are both probable, so the Mavericks may actually have a full, complete roster. Memphis, on the other hand, no, they're dinged up all over the place. Kyle Anderson is doubtful. Clark, Merrill, Ja Morant, and Zion Williamson out. So does that mean anything? No, obviously not to the Grizzlies, the way they've been playing basketball of late. Dallas is the slowest team in the league. Hear that, Dirk? You could still run with them, buddy. They're dead last, 30th. So that's not going to help matters when you're trying to get the ball up to your stars in Luka and Porzingis and these guys. But anyway, Memphis is 9th, so it is a pace-up game for Dallas, pace down for the Grizz. Dallas 18th in defense, Memphis 23rd. So neither team playing good defense, which gives you some interest. The line is great at -4, 213 total is reasonable. So this game is playable, but you have Dallas on the second night of a back-to-back and Memphis on the first night. So, you've got 2 coaches, and Kidd, we don't know really what the heck he's doing, but, he's shown to play a little bit more bench when he's had back-to-backs. On the other side of the ball, Jenkins is a great coach for Memphis. I think he's a real up-and-coming coach, but he doesn't have a whole lot of options with all his studs out. So I think his main guys are going to get solid minutes. So way I'm looking at this right now, Luka at 11.5 on a back-to-back, he just hasn't looked great to me. I know his stats were terrific. He's a monster, but 11.5, I mean, you got to really be committed here, and they're so damn slow. He doesn't look completely fit to me. This last time that he's been out, looks like he put on a little weight. I know his numbers were great, and he's still one of the best players in the league. I just don't think he's 100% clicking on all cylinders. And that's a little nerve-wracking when he's going to get harassed by Desmond Bane and specifically Dillon Brooks. So I'm not going Luka again, until I, think that it's the right matchup and he's looking sharp on his game. Bullock at 3-1 could not drop the ball in the ocean, even wide open. I mean, he could be a nice value play if he could just make some shots. He's a 3-and-D guy, I get it, but the D part's been great. The 3 part, no. So, we'll see. Hardaway's really going to get the majority of those minutes at shooting guard anyway. After that, I got to say, Kristaps played a really solid game last night, but just coming back from an injury, second night of a back-to-back, 8.1K. It's Porzingis. No, thank you. No way I'm risking that. If he beats me, he beats me, but no way. After that, I mean, the only guy I'd consider is Jalen Brunson at 5-4. I was furious last night. He didn't get run at the end of the game. He's such a clutch player, great foul shooter, great decision maker. I didn't think he got enough minutes. So that scares me a bit. But at 5-4, you can at least consider him. But I'll tell you right now, I mean, I've been down on the Mavericks the last couple of weeks because they haven't looked right, and I still am, unfortunately. For the Grizzlies on the other side, Tyus Jones at 5-7 has been solid. He really has picked up the reins and run this team. The guy that I've been on him since his first game. I thought he was a great pick as a rookie. Desmond Bane, he's up to 6'5", which definitely hurts. But he's been tough, man. He has picked up a lot of scoring. Especially since Jaw went down. So he's in consideration. Guy I like the most is Dillon Brooks, though. He's only 6'1". They need him in the game to guard Luka. He's going to score and cause some troubles on the other side. I think he's well in play. And then the big guys. Now, members that are listening are going to laugh at me here because I shredded Steven Adams 2 days ago in our Discord when we were chatting in there before the slate. And then he went on to have like one of the best games he's had in 10 years. So I'm not talking bad about Steven Adams anymore. But I will say this. It's the first night of a back-to-back. He's older. Yes, the Mavericks get murdered by big men. Will that big man they get murdered by be Steven Adams? Or will it be Jaren Jackson or a combination of the two? Jackson at 7K is a fairly decent price. He's the guy I'd lean to over Adams, but Adams is not off my radar. And I know I was dogging him 2 days ago, but that's DFS. It's the matchups. It's the situation. You can think a guy's a dog one day and a hero the next. It's just the way that this game flows. But it would be ironic after smashing him in our Discord to play him 48 hours later. But it's possible. I'm considering it. But leaning more towards Jackson than Adams at this moment. A lot of good guys off the Grizz bench like Melton, etc., but not enough on a slate like this. All right, 3 games left and happens to be the late slate. 2 10 o'clockers and 10:30. It's going to cause a coffee celebration here. All right, here we go. Last 3. 10 down. 3 to go. 10 o'clock, Orlando at Sacramento. Sacramento, 7-point favorite. Triple deuces, 222.5 total. Gotta love that. 107.7 implied for the Magic, 114.75 for Sacramento. These are 2 teams that I play a lot. I love this matchup. This game is exciting to me. But Orlando comes in 5-20. Sacramento 10-14. You got to love DFS. When you're most excited to watch a game at 10 o'clock, that a 5-20 team against a 10-14 teams. I mean, there's nothing better than DFS. I absolutely love it. It makes every game count. And, my first NBA, if you don't know this, and I always brag about it, but I deserve to because it's so amazing. This is my 42nd year. We started, my buddy and I, Mike Perry in high school, started an NBA DFS year-long league back in 1980, our sophomore year of high school. So I always like to mention it once in a while because it's 42nd year. I've won it 16 times. So don't mess with me in year long. Anyway, I say that because it always reminds me that once we started DFS back in the day, it made games that people wouldn't watch if, the smash the windshield games, when they smash the windshield and put the tickets on your dashboard instead of taking them out. It's one of those games you got to family and friends only watch. But DFS makes this so much fun because it puts games in play. And again, this will probably be my key play game of the night. And it's the Magic and Kings. So there you go. Like I say, 5-20, 10-14 injuries. MCW, Fultz, Isaac, Moore, and Suggs all out for Orlando. For Sacramento, we definitely need the news on Harrison Barnes. He's questionable. Harkless questionable as well. So definitely the Barnes news means a lot there because it does shift that rotation a lot. Pace, Orlando 7th, Sacramento 3rd, ding, 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 winner. Defense, Orlando 27th, Sacramento 25th. Another ding, triple dinger. That it makes this game very, very interesting. If Orlando keeps it close, Sacramento is favored by 7, but they're not world beaters. This game could be one of those nice, big, fat, juicy DFS games, and that's what I'm hoping for. Cole Anthony, obviously one of my favorite players if you watch this show every day. 7-6. Definitely in play for me. I think Wendell Carter Jr. at 6'8" is a good consideration. Mo Bamba at 6'2", also a consideration. If you want to go deeper, you've got some big value plays there and guys like Ross O'Keke and Hampton, Wagner, Harris even, but probably going to stick to the main guys on the Orlando side. Definitely like some Sacramento guys as well. I think De'Aaron Fox at 8'3" is playable. Tyrese Halliburton at 6K, not bad. If Barnes is in at 5'3", he's gone. He was way priced in the 8s earlier in the year. If he's with no limits, then we'll see what the deal is here. Plus, this game is an island game, by the way. That's the other thing that makes me like it a lot. Metu at 4'8" in play. He's getting minutes. He's in the rotation since Gentry took over, and he's been getting to his number. Rashawn Holmes is at a price that you can consider now at 6'3". And then Buddy Hield and Davion Mitchell both have to be talked about here. Hield's 5'5". Mitchell really cheap at 3'3". Those guys have the potential to get some solid minutes. The only thing that worries me a little bit about Cole Anthony is if Mitchell does get that big time and guards him a little bit, that doesn't help matters. But I can see myself with 3 guys out of this game, which is a lot on a size this, a slate this size. But, I think there's just great plays here. I mean, Anthony, maybe an Anthony Carter followed up by Fox and Metu, something of that nature, or Barnes, depending on the news. So love this game. I think that you have to have some exposure here, and I think it's going to go overlooked. All right, 2 games left, 10 o'clock, Portland and Golden State. Golden State by a big fat 14, 217.5 total. This game does have potential blowout without question. Portland coming in at 11-14, but completely crushed by injury. Warriors 20-4. So this is going to be a game I'm not too fired up about at all. Terrible news for CJ McCollum with a collapsed lung. So prayers with him. That is some serious stuff. So they're just decimated with injuries. They don't even know if Simons is going to play. He's questionable. Nazir Little's questionable. McLemore, Cody Zeller, all questionable. And then out, we know Lillard and McCollum. So they're going to be playing with mop-up duty. Yes, it's going to create some value, but how much value do you trust in some of these Portland guys against Golden State's #1 defense in an island game for Golden State for both teams, and then the blowout potential? So this is a terrifying game. As far as Golden State goes, we know Clay and Wiseman still out. Iguodala is probable, so they should be getting him back. So monster mismatch here. Looks like, really a not super competitive game. Pace is good. Portland in the middle of the league at 15. Golden State at 5. Portland has the second worst defense, so Golden State should just run over them. And again, Golden State remains first in the league in defense. If you are going to go with some value from Portland, it's amazing to me. Dennis Smith Jr. is 5'8". Norman Powell is 4'8". How could Smith be $1,000 more out of nowhere here? But, you got to talk about both guys. They're the two guys that I'd consider probably Powell first and Smith second, I think are definitely in play here. Then you've just got, you got to scratch your head. Do you go to Nurkic at 6'9"? He could be a phenomenal play if he gets it done. Somebody's got to take the usage and shots. I mean, if Simons plays, then, you don't consider Smith and you play Simons, or maybe it eliminates both. But Powell's my number one look here. After that, it's a mess. I mean, Nurkic in consideration if I can make that work, especially the sites where you can start two centers, but not super excited. Again, on the other side with Golden State, I'm not dialing up Steph at 11-4 in a game that could blow out like this. It very well could. Poole at 5'9" is tempting. Wiggins at 6'3". I get it. Draymond, again, at 7-1 in a blowout, not really going to race there. So this game is going to be pretty dead to me, except for one of the Portland value plays once we get the final news. All right, last game on the slate. It is a 10:30 game. So we have two 10s and a 10:30. Maybe have to put out a late night 3-gamer for our members there at Coach Talk. Clippers by 4, 213 total, 104.5 for Boston, 108.5 for the LA Clippers. Boston on the second night of a back-to-back. We saw them lose to the Lakers last night, and let's see how this game goes tonight. Boston 28th in pace, Clippers 10th. Defense solid, Boston 10th, Clippers 3rd. So again, not a super duper game to chase after, but there are some plays here. You have Schroeder at 6'2". He was pressing a little bit last night against the Lakers, against his old Lakers team. Didn't quite have the game people were expecting at like insane ownership. I think a lot of people will be a little sour there, but he's still a good play. Tatum at 10-6, definitely can be considered. Let's look real quickly here at the injuries. Jaylen Brown, questionable. Fernando and Parker out. Batum, questionable for the Clippers. Leonard and Preston out. Boston's 13-12. So are the Clippers. Same record in this ball game. Then after that, as far as the consideration here, Tatum's always a possibility, but it's Tatum versus George. I think it's like Spider-Man there. They eliminate each other. Maybe some value with a Morris or Jackson at decent prices at 4, 8, and 6. Schroeder at a bounce back at 6'2". You can consider maybe Robert Williams at a cheap 5'7". All right, my friends, that is it. We're through at dfscoachtalk.com. Join us. We'd love to have you, and we'll be back tomorrow again when we look to crush it in NBA.